YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and this is Eden Zero, Volume 6, Chapters 42 to 50. And the beginning of this volume is, I assume, it's chapters called Pino's Heart, where you see Chibi Herman giving out instruction in interviews of Eden Zero, and this mini-series of Chibi Herman, Rebecca, and Happy, and then we go in the beginning of the chapter, where Sister and Herman are bickering at each other, as they always do, according to the facts that they do, but Sister is glad to have Herman back, and then there's the bad scene, which I am going to skip. Seriously, Mashima. Shiki and Waze had their first taste of a burger, which I guess is understandable. After all, Shiki was raised on a planet with the robots, and I'm not sure about Waze. But enough about that. This chapter is dedicated to the little android wishing to become human if they ever find Mother. Now, she doesn't grant any wishes per se, but the ability to give newborn life to any individual who finds her, and maybe Pino can become human after all. Who knows? Next is Amira relaxing on the beach on a different planet, and then there's an introduction to the upcoming villains and the big boss himself, Drake and Joe. Now here are the name of his crews, and it turns out that the big boss himself is a money power hungry monster, and his goal is to steal valuable artifacts and sell for a reasonable price. Once he heard of Eden Zero, he's willing to take it for himself. But this chapter not only reveals Drake and Joe and his crew, but there's also an introduction of Noah at the end of the chapter. I know I spoiled it at the end, but I just wanted to get that out. And now let's talk about Shiki and his crew finally to the last shining star, Valkyrie, and Herman announced an info of a fortune teller in the Sakura cosmos. Did you enjoy the Digilips arc? Zeramani asked. No, I did not. I thought it was the most boring arc I ever seen. At least you gave me a good ending, but carry on. Ziamani, the narrator, recaps of what the crew of Eden Zero is up to, as she explains the outcome until she gets visitors, as she also claims that she gets them as well. Okay, now get to Waze telling Hamura to try on a bunny outfit, but he's still a little into it. Moving on. Shiki and Rebecca want to try out the new outfits as well, and I will have to say they don't look half bad. And for the first time, Witch reveals her face as the girl and guys are fascinated how pretty she looks. But enough about the fun fillers. Time for the crew to meet their destination to speak with the fortune teller about Valkyrie, and she turns out to be the narrator of the story, Ziamani. Yeah, you could have fooled me with that earlier foreshadowing in the beginning of the chapter. She is known as the Time Oracle, and before she lets Hamura ask about her teacher, Ziramani stops her as she knows about the outcome and is willing to give them the information that they need, but at a price. That price is known about what happens in a battle with that expression? Yeah, I don't understand the conflict of her reaction. I also don't understand that Zeramai will know what will happen shortly and know the results of the effect. Yes, she doesn't understand the results of a battle. I mean, she knows who's going to win the fight, as she mentioned at the end of the chapter that she predicted Shiki's victory, but didn't expect a one-shot hit. Yeah, that was a pretty short fight, but what got my attention is what Ziamani said to herself at the end about Shiki being Mother's blank. Now, there's gotta be a connection between Shiki and Mother, which is a mystery that's still unsolved, but I'm okay with that. After all, it does give out some interesting theories from the fanbase, including myself, and my thought is that Shiki could be a reincarnation. After all, they did say whoever finds Mother are reborn, but that is just an idea. After reading the recent chapter, I started to get second thoughts, and I'll get to that when the time comes and I'm ready to discuss the next chapter, which is the continuation battle with the other crew, Rebecca versus a boxing champion who is a dirty trickster who gets his ass kicked by her. Yeah, this chapter shows that Rebecca can hold her own with the use of Happy, which is why she's my favorite female character in Eden Zero. Next, Waves wins his battle using Pino's EMP to shut down his opponent's ether gear. I know it's a cheap move, but a win's a win, I'm not going to complain. And for the final battle, Hamura is going up against the replica of her teacher Valkyrie, thus ending the chapter. Now in chapter 47, this is the battle between Hamura and the replica, and also during that fight, it shows the flashback of when the two met, with Hamura as a young child saved by Valkyrie. They gained a bond of student and teacher as they both introduced themselves to each other, and then at the end of the chapter, Hamura won the fight against the replica. Now that Ziamani got what she wanted and ready to give the crew the knowledge of the real Valkyrie's location, which is the planet of gemstone called Sun Jewels, Shiki invites his crew to head to the new location, and before they head off, Ziamani gives another knowledge about Mother and her existence in the world. She also mentioned that it was Mother that gave her powers, and in exchange for that powers, her memories and knowledge of Mother's location information has been erased. She also explains that Mother can grant any wish, and Shiki gives out his word that he will find Mother as he and his crew head back to Eden Zero and headed to Sun Jewels. At the end of the chapter, Xiamani continue her roles as narrator, which I find adorable, and honestly I like Xiamani. I think she's a fun character. And now in chapter 49, Shiki and the crew head to the planet Sun Jewels and they run into a man named Captain Connor. And just a fair warning, this is an important character, even though you won't be able to see him again after 20 chapters. I bring this up because a lot of the reader and viewers, including myself, completely forgot about this guy until the recent volume that came out. You can see him taking off his glove, revealing the words Eden 1 on the back of his wrist. It gave me questions that I waited patiently for the answer and just moved on because I didn't really care about this character. But once you see him again with a familiar figure, it becomes more understandable why he's important to the series. And those of you who read all the Eden Zero manga up to the recent chapter, then you will know what I'm talking about. But those of you who haven't, I'll try not to spoil too much. So this chapter is to introduce a character that'll be forgotten later as he plays an essential role in the series. Now in the last chapter of the volume, Shiki and the crew go into a casino to get more information about Valkyrie's whereabouts. The place was ready to get robbed but then stopped by Shiki and Hamura. But then the criminal is punished by Lady Coraline to the citizens safe from harm. Yeah, the word safe is an understatement as the criminal's punishment isn't played for laughs. I can guarantee that and can prove it in the next volume. And at the end of the chapter, we see the smile of Valkyrie. I would end the video here, but before I do that, I want to say that this volume seems incredibly short to me. But of course, I like it better than the last one I read, as this one is more entertaining. And another thing is that I plan to detail each chapter to a minimum, as I'll only talk about the vital ideals of each one. I decided to do this because on Twitter I got a comment from Iron Nancy after asking him what he thinks of my review videos. And he said this to me: "Glad you watched and enjoy, and about your videos, at least with one that you sent me. I will say this, it was pretty good and very informative, but be careful about showing so much of the chapter. Companies aren't a fan of that. So I will take Iron Nancy's advice and show fewer chapter pages and more chibi anime version of myself. It may be more work, but I don't mind. I want to give up my ideas of what the series means to me, and I am happy to share my opinions on the topic. Thank you so much for watching this review, and leave a comment and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to see my upcoming videos, click on the notification bell and I'll see you then. RoseRed17 out.